The Namibian-German relations are multifaceted and very, very close. Of course, looking at the advent of the history of Namibia and Germany that date back to the 1900s to a point where Namibia is one of the biggest development partners of the country. We're joined by its ambassador from Namibia to Germany, Martin Andjaba, for tonight's edition of Diplomatic Communique. I'm Ricardo Magosep. A very good evening to you, Ambassador. Thank you so much for making time out to join us.
Good evening, and thank you for having me.
Well, if we talk about the relations of Namibia and Germany, are very, 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 very close relations that we have, multifaceted with the country. How would you describe the bilateral relations between the two countries?
Well, thank you for the question. As you have indicated in your introduction, the bilateral relations between Germany and Namibia go back many years, and they are very important, very historical, and also sometimes very sensitive because of what has happened during the German occupation of Namibia. But moving on, they are very important in the sense that we have got important cooperation activities between the two countries, and our people stand to benefit more as we move on with these relations between the two countries.
I think that perhaps I just want us to focus a little bit on our political relations, on the geopolitical relations with Germany before we touch on the economic side of things. As it stands right now, of course, we know Germany is also one of the global superpowers, particularly from an economic perspective, and wields quite a lot of influence globally. What is our relationship like with them at a political level in as far as the promotion of democracy and democratic ideals are concerned?
Yeah, as you said, Germany plays a critical role globally in many areas. And politically, we have, since our independence, embarked on a number of programs and activities between our two countries. And we move forward in implementing those programs. A number of agreements and MOUs have been reached between the two countries, and we look forward to implementing those. And you also mentioned that Germany is an important development partner for Namibia. So that is indeed what the case is, and we hope to improve and deepen and strengthen those relations, both at the political level, but also economically.
In terms of these agreements, can you perhaps highlight one or two of these agreements for us?
Way back, I think in 1991, there was an agreement signed between two countries on cultural cooperation. And under that agreement, a number of activities are taking place in the area of education and training, for example, and exchanges at the cultural levels. But also moving forward with the green hydrogen, that is now the main topic of discussion. There was an agreement on research signed between the Minister of Germany on research and the Minister of Namibia National Planning Commission. That was in 2021. And then moving on, there was another agreement signed between the Minister of Mines and Energy and the Germany Vice Chancellor, Robert Habeck, again on green hydrogen production and transfer. And then, of course, there was another agreement that I signed with the city of Berlin, and that had to do with the donation that the city of Berlin made to Namibia during the time that we were very much challenged by the COVID pandemic. So there are quite a number of other agreements in various sectors, and we really stand to benefit on those agreements.
And as far as, I think, mentioning that first agreement, and now, of course, green hydrogen, and looking at the years and amounts that have been invested here as well, what level of confidence do you have in terms of the proposed support from the side of Germany? Of course, looking at also the fact that there are quite a number of other discussions that are taking place. Perhaps we'll also reflect on a little bit later on. Does that not hinder the business side of things, or do we always look at these negotiations as standalone engagements that you have? I'm bringing this in, I'm pretty sure that around the genocide conversation that's also going on, does that not really influence, that's basically my question, the business conversations that also happen on the side with, for example, the JCoI that you recently just signed?
Yeah, no, all these things are happening at the same time. There's nothing that interferes with the other. Business activities go on. There's a lot of investments in Namibia from Germany. German business people come here to explore possibilities for further partnerships. There are also activities between universities in Namibia and universities in Germany. All these activities are going on parallel to whatever else is happening. You mentioned the genocide negotiations, but I think none of these influence the other. So they are all independent. They've got their own specific objectives, and they are going on that way.
In terms of the green hydrogen, just staying on that before we step away, we know there has been support, of course, coming in from the education perspective as well, where financing was also provided for a number of students to do postgraduate studies, etc., etc. Part of that JCoI, what is the focus area of that agreement? Is it also still education, or is it multifaceted?
It's multifaceted, but also currently we have PhD students in Germany, about 10 of them, who are studying different aspects of the hydrogen sector. So it's multifaceted, and that 40 million that you mentioned was part of the agreement that was signed in 2021. So yes, those are ongoing, and hopefully there will be others that will come.
If you just joined us, you're watching Diplomatic Communique. I'm joined by Ambassador Martin Andjaba, representing, of course, Germany and also Poland, as well as a number of other countries. When we come back after the break, we will talk about reparations. Stay with us. Welcome back to Diplomatic Communique. Tonight we are focusing on one of our longest and I think biggest international development partners, Germany. We're joined by the ambassador to Germany, Martin Andjaba, to just unpack the relations between the two countries. A little bit earlier on, of course, Ambassador, you had mentioned that we have a multifaceted but very close relationship. There are different conversations that go on, and negotiations, conversations, some also sensitive. That one, of course, is the discussion around the genocide reparations. What is the status of those negotiations?
Yes, negotiations on the genocide issue have been going on now for a while, and I must say that this is a very sensitive matter, and it is being handled also with that sensitivity that it deserves. The status so far, I think, is work in progress. Work in progress because, as you know, there was a joint declaration that was initiated by the two countries, the two special envoys representing the two countries. I must say that the two countries have got two teams each, and each of these teams is headed by a special envoy. It's of course unfortunate on our side that the envoy from Namibia has succumbed to COVID. Dr. Ngavire, may his soul rest in peace. But the work continues. I think at the beginning of this month, we had about a round of ninth round of negotiations here in Windhoek to look at the other aspects of the joint declaration that might need further clarification and strengthening. So there's progress, I must say, although I may not go into the details, but the discussions are ongoing, and hopefully soon there will be finality on this matter.
in terms of it, and I really don't want to dwell on the matter because I think we've really spoken at length about the reparations, the discussions, what is required. But the key takeaway, I think, in initial engagements, you had mentioned that we should look at this in context of the relationship that we already have with Germany as a development partner. Can you expound on that a little bit?
Yeah. Yes, the development activities and cooperation between the two countries continue. They are not affected by the negotiations that are going on the genocide issue. So that's very important to just underline that activity goes on. And then you have the negotiations on genocide. We are all aware of the offer that is on the table by the German government in terms of the amounts that they have made known, the quantum rather. We know our position on that, and therefore we have negotiations still continuing to find a way, an amicable way, to address the concerns on the Namibians on this particular matter. Yes, the two issues continue parallel. That is development cooperation, as it has been happening, and then the genocide discussions.
Part of the development cooperation, and quite an important one, I think, for us was also the cooperation in the field of education. We know that Germany is a powerhouse in technical and vocational education and training. As a country, we have ambitions to really grow that base as well. Can you reflect maybe on some cooperation in the area of education and academia? Are we looking into tapping into that rich history of technical aptitude of Germans?
Yes, you mentioned vocational training. That is one of the key aspects of our programs here. In particular, the Harambee Prosperity Plan lays emphasis on vocational training. And we stand to benefit a lot from the Germans because they have expertise and experience in this area. So in our engagement with our interlocutors in Germany, be it with the government, with universities, or with the private sector, we do emphasize on the need to support and partner with us in this area, because we believe without vocational training, we won't be able to develop our country further.
Well, no, that much is true. And in terms of that training, we know, of course, that the ease of movement of people has always been a very, very important one. And there is one issue that consistently keeps coming up, and that is, of course, the visa requirement for Namibians to be able to go to Germany, despite the close ties that we have. But if it's the inverse, it's easier for them to come on this end without having a visa. Can you perhaps put that in context for the layman on the street, why that is the case, and are there any plans to remove that barrier in the future?
At independence, we, as a new government, decided to offer some visa exemption facilities to some countries, and that was in a way to encourage trade and investment, to encourage tourism in particular to Namibia. Germany was one of the countries that benefited from this approach by Namibia. Of course, there are some countries that responded also by according Namibians similar privileges. But some countries have not, and Germany is one of those that have not accorded Namibians a similar preferential treatment when it comes to visa arrangements. We have been making it a point every time we meet with the government officials, in particular, the foreign ministry, home affairs, and so on, that no, look, Germany has adopted a special relationship with Namibia. And because of that, we need to benefit our people. We need to look into the issue of the visas, because when our people come to Germany, sometimes they face difficulties at the airports. They are not handled properly by airport officials. So we are very very concerned and very worried about this situation. Of course, discussions are ongoing. They tell us that no, they have got Schengen arrangement which makes it difficult for them to give us reciprocal visa arrangement. But we insist that no, look, at least you must start giving visa-free arrangements for Namibians, holders of official passports as a beginning. And maybe as we go on, we look at other categories, other categories of holders.
Are they amenable to this proposal, or is it still just an ongoing conversation for them?
They are in a way saying yes, they are amenable. They are telling us they are considering the issue. They are working on it, but it's taking time. Imagine how many years now have passed that they are still they're still looking into the issue.
If you're watching Diplomatic Communique here, Ambassador Andjaba representing us in Germany, giving us some of his time for this evening's edition of the program. Stay with us. We'll be back after this break. Welcome back to Diplomatic Communique. I'm Ricardo Tlagosep, but I'm not here alone for today's edition of the program. Of course, the ambassador to Germany, Martin Andjaba, joins me as we conclude the conversation for this morning. Ambassador, before we went for the break, of course, we were talking about cooperation in education. We highlighted a little bit the issue around the visa access as well. But one of the things that we, of course, also know is that between Germany and Namibia, there are, of course, also some city-to-city partnerships. We know Berlin is also one of those historical and monumental cities in the world, the Berlin Wall, etc., what they've gone through. But in terms of the infrastructure development, also something to marvel about. Can we reflect a little bit about agreements at that level between the two countries?
Yes, there is a long-standing agreement between the city of Berlin and the city of Windhoek. And that's a city-to-city partnership, which includes development cooperation at that level, and sports activities, even cultural activities. And recently we had the mayor of Windhoek visiting Berlin, and that was, I think, last September. So it's very important partnership that is there. And I mentioned earlier on the agreement I signed with the city of Berlin with regard to the donation of oxygen machines. So that donation was done within the context of the city-to-city partnership. There is also an important partnership between the city of Windhoek and the city of Bremen. And when the mayor came to Germany in September, he also went to Bremen. There are very important and historical partnerships from that side. Also historical because some of these activities started before independence. We had SWAPO leaders and members who went to Bremen for some of these activities. So it's an ongoing process. But there are also new ones that are upcoming. The city of Lüderitz visited Germany. There is also another Lüderitz in Germany. So the mayor of Lüderitz from here led a high-power delegation to Lüderitz in Germany. So they are discussing also partnerships between the two cities. There is also another partnership that is coming up, and that's between Keetmanshoop and the city of Kleinmachnow. Kleinmachnow is in Brandenburg, just near Berlin. So they're also looking at this partnership. So as the embassy, we are facilitating these discussions. We are participating also in these discussions, and we are very encouraged by the interest that is there.
And that's a very, very important reflection to look at there as well. So while we are here, or just on the cities, there's something I really just wanted to put out there as well. And I know on other occasions you had really spoken about the passion for children, for youth, and making sure that we create environments for them to be able to thrive. If you look at it, particularly now in some of our urban areas, when we were growing up, we had these little spaces within this different cities for football, etc., recreational spaces. And slowly but surely, we've seen that those spaces are also being closed off. Corporations at this level, are they able to facilitate and assist in terms of resources, planning, etc., to see how we can also improve the quality of life within these city spaces?
Oh yes, no, that is part of the. Those are part of the activities. As I mentioned, sports is part of the agreements. So there are resources that are being made available, but also experts are being sent here to come and compare notes and advise where possible our officials responsible for those areas. So all these issues are taken up in these agreements, and as I indicated earlier, very, very encouraging, and we move forward to strengthen further those relations and partnerships.
In conclusion, as a parting word, Ambassador Andjaba, looking at how multifaceted our relationship is with Germany, our good development partner, what sums up the relationship of Namibia and Germany? I think especially for Namibians that are watching right now, how should we see this relationship going forward?
There is a history behind our relations. We use that history as a launching pad for further cooperation. We shouldn't stay static. We should move forward because the world is moving forward. So we need to understand this situation and have this partnership strengthened and deepened for the benefit of future generations.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, for making time out to join us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Diplomatic communique for tonight with our ambassador to Germany, Martin Andjaba, of course, one of the ambassadors that have got very, very, very sensitive post and work to do with our international development partners. That's our edition for Diplomatic Communique for tonight. I'm Ricardo Thompson. Until next time.